The information that coordinates the social order emerges and spreads via economic competition, which itself emerges from freedom and the tradition of private property. Free people are motivated to discover the best information with which to increase the rate at which they transform or reorder the matter they exclusively control, their private property, to create wealth. Most of us transform our bodies in a manner that maximizes the value of the wealth in terms of labor, services, or products we produce and then trade with companies, employers, or the public. From our freedom to use or transform our private property emerges the freedom to trade it with anyone in the entire planet, which inadvertently transforms mankind into a global supercomputer where companies are motivated to innovate and learn copy from each other. Competitors thus inadvertently cooperate to create and spread superior information and subsequent social order throughout the world. For example, perhaps a Honda engineer in Tokyo, Japan invented power door locks, and thanks to the economic competition which emerges from people's freedom to only trade their wealth for what they calculate to be best, BMW, Ford, Toyota and other competitors had to also copy the power door locks idea and thus inadvertently spread superior information and subsequent order throughout the world. It is our freedom as consumers to trade our life and order sustaining wealth for what we calculate to be best, and if we have superior information as producers to go into business, which motivates existing businesses' competitors to innovate, compete, copy, learn. Just like in the Olympics we can discover the best athletes in the world due to global competition, so does having the freedom to trade with everyone in the world allows the best ideas to compete and spread globally, thus ensuring the best possible global order. Via advertising, competitors are motivated to spread the potential usefulness and superiority of their products' ideas as well as the defects inferiority of their competitors, thus accelerating the need to compete, copy, spread superior information and subsequent order. As cost-cutting ideas emerge and inevitably spread via competition, leading relative prices to continuously fall, new profitable ideas easily arise and once again spread via competition in an endless cycle of knowledge generation innovation. For example, computers were once very expensive, but once the price of making them came down enough, people easily realized that every home could have them, which gave birth to our computerized world and the internet and all the great things that flow from it. The more wealth is produced, the more wealth must be offered in exchange for labor as companies compete against each other for the labor they need, which helps explain why the economic pie grows for everyone. Morals are ways of acting, they too are knowledge which also emerges and spreads via economic competition to considerable degrees. It is hard-working, tolerant, courteous people, who thanks to competition, inevitably motivate everyone else to be likewise. As Hayek writes, competition is, after all, always a process in which a small number makes it necessary for larger numbers to do what they do not like, be it to work harder, to change habits, or to devote a degree of attention, continuous application, or regularity to their work which without competition would not be needed. As millions of Italians, Britons, Germans, Jews and others from all over the world came to America, it was ultimately the competition which grows from private property and thus individual liberty which stripped these people of their otherwise nationalistic, ethnocentric, tribalistic identities and evolved what came to be seen as the classic American character of wanting to be seen as a reputable and honest businessman or professional, who treats everyone with respect and wears a business suit as opposed to older ethnocentric attires. Thus freedom and emerging competitive knowledge discovery, as opposed to leading to chaos, is what 1. Enables and motivates the discovery and spread of superior information and subsequent social order, 2. Civilizes us, 3. Protects us from being coerced into doing something we don't want and thus allows us to live our lives as we wish, 4. And is vital for discovering the truth. Freedom is the ultimate algorithm. The role of governments and thus coercion should be minimized because governmental or public sector bureaucracies, being coercive monopolies which get their life or order sustaining wealth through taxes and compulsion, are immune to the competitive information spreading incentives which motivate private sector entities to keep up with the competition in terms of information and hustle. Government plans can't work if people are free to not go along with or fund them, so they inevitably require compulsion. The former Soviet Union had plenty of highly educated scientists and experts whose plans required the coercion of millions, as still happens in Cuba, but they were thoroughly crushed by free Americans and their competitive knowledge discovery. The classic nighttime image below helps explain the difference between competitive private free orders and monopolistic government coerced orders. Keep your eye on how information arises and spreads via competition and continuously restructures the social order. In the free private competitive sector, information constantly moves and evolves as it is tested, refined, preferred by the comparisons to other information by billions of minds or customers, thus ensuring superior information spreads and is ideally adapted to each specific time and place. This mechanism is destroyed by government regulations which are top-down, coercive, competitionless monopoly information which is not subject to continuous improvement or replacement via competition, so they paralyze entire industries, slowing down competitive knowledge discovery, driving up costs, more lawyers, regulators, bureaucrats, and potentially making criminals out of people who harm nobody but just prefer to do things differently. Hayek reminds us, the argument for liberty is not an argument against organization, which is one of the most powerful tools human reason can employ, but an argument against all exclusive, privileged, monopolistic organization, against the use of coercion to prevent others from doing better. Compare the increasingly regulated, paralyzed healthcare sector, which has grown from consuming less than 5% of the economic pie in 1960 to over 20% today, culminating in the spectacular COVID mania tyranny, to the free competitive IT sector where even the poorest of Americans can afford rapidly improving amazing cell phones and technology. In the graph below one can see how the more regulated and thus competition immune a sector is, hospital services, the more expensive it becomes. A myth is a widely held but false belief or idea. Wherever there is complexity, Homo sapiens easily fools himself with mythology. The complexity of the emergence and functioning of the socio-economic order has led to myths like the Tower of Babel, coercive and competition immune rule by religious priesthoods as well as rule by government experts via socialism. The complexity of the biochemical order has led to myths like miasma theory and more recently lobotomies. The complexity of the economy, history, and human nature has led to our countless wars and current Israeli-Palestinian conflict. To discover and spread the best information and minimize falling for erroneous mythology, we just need to become experts in defending the freedom whose emerging peace and competitive knowledge discovery will provide us the best answers. Again, freedom is the ultimate algorithm.